Hey, welcome to Rock On Studio Live. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can just search Rock On Studio Live on YouTube and hit subscribe. I'm Amy, and today we're going to talk to Des Rocs about all the important things: pizza, staying true to the music, and how he manages to find inspiration among chaos. So let's talk to Des. Hey,
Hey, how are you?
good man. We're here in Columbia, South Carolina. Where are you right now?
I'm in New York City.
Enjoying all that snow that just came through.
Yeah, solid 6 inches or so. Yeah, it's not bad.
Did you run out and get your Instagram picture?
No, I didn't. It's too cold. I'm not running anywhere right now, I'll tell you that.
All my friends and family up in New Jersey are sending me pictures, and I'm like, no, thank you. I'll stick with palm trees. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it sounds nice, man. I love South Carolina. It's just such an awesome place to be.
Man, I'm so happy to talk to you today. A few months ago, I had been watching your video for Use to the Darkness. So in the middle of a pandemic, right, earlier in this year, it sends everybody indoors, and you somehow managed to think, you know what a dope time for me to go out to Times Square and get this amazing image of an empty Times Square. What about that? Like, what in you inspires you while everybody else is going, oh God, what is happening? That you're like, I can use this as an opportunity.
Well, honestly, like I'm always just inspired by everything around me, whether it's good stuff or bad stuff. And for me, like Times Square is a place that all New Yorkers avoid constantly. Like it's the bane of our existence. So like right before everything formally shut down in New York, I was actually nearby and I was like, oh my God, it's like totally empty.
Yeah.
So I just went there and I was the only person in Times Square, probably for the first time in over a century. And I just did one take of me playing a song acoustic, and it was a pretty surreal experience, and it was kind of like a farewell to the city, to be honest, for now.
When you're there, it's kind of like an eerie feeling. If you go past like abandoned houses and you just get that like eerie feeling that there used to be like hustle and bustle and full of life, and then you're there alone. Was that what it felt like?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what a lot of New York City felt like for a while too, to be honest. But yeah, it's very much like an eeriness to it, that was certainly unsettling. It had some like I Am Legend vibes for sure.
You also did a one camera video for your music video, I Know. And what, again, the same thing. I think this has been a really interesting time for artists, as far as being able to find when a lot of people are stuck looking right because so many depend on touring and that, face-to-face interaction with their fans, that we've seen a few artists, you being one of them, that have kind of look left and been like, how can I use this to my advantage? Is that something you feel that you work on, or just it comes kind of naturally to you?
Yeah, I think it's always been something that's been in me. Like I just always want to make stuff and create stuff. And I think when you take out the ability to play shows from that whole recipe, like that same energy just gets channeled to all these different things. So when I'm home and I just have a friend who has a camera that could strap onto my chest, I'm like, hey man, bring that over. Like I have a bunch of ideas for some things I want to make, and they strap
Yeah.
on. And I just like shot this video for this song that was like a real like COVID time thing. Like that's all from that era of like March and April and May.
Do you experience any burnout ever? Like, has some of the downtime been good for you in that aspect, or?
No, I think I have the opposite, to be honest. Like I think not doing things burns me out because when I'm not
Yeah.
doing things, like I'm constantly thinking. And
Yeah.
it's a bad place to be for me because like I'm an active person. Like I'm always like 100 miles an hour at all
Yeah.
times. So like that's like my natural state. And then when I have to slow down, like that's where I get like weird or burnt out, you know?
Yeah, from the on-air perspective, like I'm coming up on some vacation, so I know as soon as I'm off those 3 days off the air, I'll have all these things I want to talk about. And I'm like, man, all the good stuff happens when I'm off the air.
Yeah, and like seriously, like when you're on tour and you do like a ton of shows in a row, like
Yeah.
yeah, I just want to get home for like a couple of weeks, like relax. But like that will last maybe like 4 hours. Like I'll get home from a 30 show tour, and like a couple hours later, I'll be like, I don't like this, you know. So yeah, I'm kind of a relentless spirit in that sense.
I've really romanticized the idea of being on tour like that. Do you have that same kind of, do you hold it in that same light?
Yeah, I do. It's just like a crazy existence that I feel like is so hard for some people to comprehend, like
Yeah.
being a nomad. And it's like always a very different experience if you're in a tour bus or if you're in a van. Like they're both totally unique and they're both totally crazy in their own ways. And yeah, man, like the road is a I mean, that's the most romantic place there is. Like that's some Jack Kerouac stuff. It's like the road, man. It's a wild existence.
What is something you do? Because I feel like for musicians and for artists, when you are on the road, you're experiencing life in a way that a majority of your fans are not experiencing life. What do you gain from that, or what do you make sure to do to keep yourself kind of grounded so that it translates in your music in a way that fans can still connect to?
Yeah, well, I think like one of the craziest things about being on the road is like just getting out of the bubble of wherever you live. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So like to me, when I first started traveling, like I had not really been to a lot of these places before, and like Missouri was more foreign to me than like Egypt. You
Yeah.
know, like and you know what I mean? It was crazy because like you're born and raised in New York,
Yeah.
and you just like don't have a good feel for like the rest of the country in any kind of way. And it's like a really kind of like leveling experience, and I feel like it really rounds you out as a person, night after night.
Absolutely. I have these conversations in a similar fashion, like having to go somewhere and be the unknown person or the new person. It really opens you up and makes you just much more flexible in life, I feel like, and getting out of that comfort zone. Because even though if you're on tour, you have, your crew that's with you, you're still like, all right, like this isn't like our stomping grounds. Is that what you found, that it kind of, you're like more open to people's experiences and thought processes because of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're a guest in every single city you go to. So it's
Yeah.
like it's a pretty surreal experience when it's like you want to try their local food, their local everything. You know what I mean? And it's like it's a completely unique and invaluable like immersion into another culture.
So this is Our Life. Your EP is out now, and I was listening to it just beforehand as well, just going through your catalog on Spotify, but in preparation for this. And I feel like every song that you create is its own story, but it all flows so well. How do you manage to depict struggles without making it like it's evergreen content? So while This Is Our Life depicts something that we're all going through together collectively right now, I feel like in 5 years and 10 years, when we're out of this, it's still relevant and will still connect and resonate with people. What's your process, your creative process behind that?
Thank you. Yeah, I hope so. Like I'm always thinking about like the permanence of the art. Like I never want to create something that is just kind of like flavor of the moment. But at
Yeah.
the same time, like I want to always be constantly embracing like the exciting tools of different production styles as they advance over the years. And like um I'm always just thinking about like longevity. Like I my studio is in a graveyard basically. Like it's and every day I walk through this graveyard and I'm just like constantly thinking about the impermanence of my life compared to the permanence of my art. And I want it to be around for hundreds of years. You know what I mean? Like that's all I'm thinking about is like timeless music that we can grab onto, but that's always pushing and innovating and getting weird and taking big swings creatively. And either I'm missing or I'm knocking it out of the park. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just kind of like my whole approach to everything I do. Like it's really tough though as an artist, like when there's so much stuff around you and you see like what's cool, what's trendy, what's popping, to like lose sight of all of that and be like,
Yeah.
so doing this, that's really working. They got a lot of TikTok followers or something. But then at the end of the day, you gotta constantly remind yourself, it's like, no, I want to create art for generations. And that's my whole approach.
For There's a lot I want to unpack in that, because I think what's been interesting is over the last however many years, how people consume music has really changed, right? So before, you used to have to buy a CD and it was 25 or $30. So you only got the artist that you knew. Even if you only knew one song on that album, you were going all in on that album. And
Mhm.
now, say I have Spotify, $10 a month, and the catalog is, unlimited. You can go from any format to any genre. How do you try to stand out while still staying true to yourself? Because now it's you have your name, but there's a lot of people. And I'm so interested in how, as you process that, with being able to be who you are and feel good and authentic about what you put out,
Mhm.
and you're still trying to capture attention.
Yeah, I think of it as like I always think that the music and the art will prevail. So for me,
Yeah.
it's an hours thing. Like a lot of people get distracted by a lot of things, but I'm always like, I will put in the most hours out of any other artist in rock music. And I will also create the most like intense pushing records. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'll never do something where someone says, "Oh, that sounds like a so and so. That sounds like a so and so." Like I couldn't make a song that sounds like Imagine Dragons, even if I wanted to.
Yeah.
So like just embracing the things and the quirks that I love that maybe a lot of producers or songwriters would be like, ah, you can't really do that. You can't really say that. That's a little weird. Like no one's doing that right now. And then when someone says no one's doing that right now,
Yeah.
that's where I get excited. You know what I mean? That's where I get super pumped up and I'm like, yeah, no one's doing that right now. I'm going to do it the biggest and baddest way possible.
Let's talk about your personal life a little bit, if that's all right.
Okay, sure.
You grew up New York City, which I feel like New York City is a vibe and energy and, raises you in its own right. And also as a fourth generation pizza maker, what do you think your childhood and your family, how did that mold you?
Uh, I think from a very young age, like I grew up like in the shadow in New York City, and I always had this world famous, like super imposing and super exciting, endless concrete jungle of opportunities that was just always right on my doorstep. And this was like
Yeah,
a really like you want to talk about romanticizing. Like, I mean, this is like the most romantic thing ever that I can get out of middle school in 8th grade, 9th grade, and I could just hop on the train and 30 minutes later I could be at Penn Station and then whatever happens, happens, you know?
yeah,
So it really formed this sense of like endless wonder. It
okay.
formed a sense of like just constant hustle and bustle that I think is like the core of everything I do. Like I remember being a little kid and going fishing with my dad early in the morning and like selling fluke door to door in like Long Island. You know what I mean? Like, and it was like a little thing that most kids don't do. They're at
Yeah.
baseball practice. You know what I mean? And like, I always had this kind of like, I want to seize the day mentality. And you kind of combine that with like creative parts of my soul, and it's like the most New York City thing there is. You know?
What are the best pizza toppings? What's your go-to?
I mean, I'm not gonna say the best because I'm a very big fan of to each their own when it comes to all things pizza and life. But like I really love a mushroom because I think it's tough to get right. A
Yeah.
mushroom can be soggy. Pepperoni, it's always gonna be salty, delicious, whatever. But a mushroom, to not make it soggy and make it really work is skill.
I'm gonna tell you, all right, this is my go-to.
What's your favorite? Yeah, tell
And
me.
you have to try it at least once. Bacon, spinach, and black olives. It's a game changer.
I
On
mean,
a thin crust, you gotta do thin crust.
it sounds like a crispy, salty combo for success right there, without a doubt.
So, as we look forward to getting back to live music, to shows, you've toured with the Rolling Stones, who, I mean, like, my God, the Rolling Stones.
Mhm.
For what do you think that you learned from them and their stage presence? And then what do you think if they were able to see you as somebody who's younger and performing in the same rate that they are? What do you think they gained from you on that same stage?
Man, I just think they know how to pick them. You know, I know it's like cocky, but like I think of like Guns N' Roses getting their start opening for the Stones, Prince getting their start. And these are like bands like Prince,
Yeah,
super different. And it's going back to what we were saying before, like people who just like unashamedly like are just doing them. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, Prince almost got there's a couple stories of like Prince opening for the Stones and getting booed off the stage at a bunch of shows because he was like so different than what people were expecting. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I love that, man. Like I thrive on that. As far as the opposite's concerned, like seeing them, man, again, it goes back to what we were talking about before about just like timelessness. You know, you think about how many eras of music they've existed in, starting from like when they were 18 years old all the way through disco and 80s and metal and like every genre of music we know and love today. And they're still just the Stones. Like they never felt the need to make a new wave album or disco, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, just like timelessness and staying true to oneself, like those lessons were rammed home more than ever during that time.
Your fan base is the Filthy Animals. Did you dub them the Filthy Animals, or did they call themselves that? How did that name come to be?
It's like ambiguous because I said it. I mean, someone looks like they're gonna weigh in on this in the Facebook comments right now. This is like a cool interface. I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah,
Um,
this is a dope product.
yeah, like I just kind of called a bunch of people filthy animals like maybe a year and a half ago on Instagram when I was kind of first starting out, and a couple people just embraced it, and then it took on a life of its own right from there.
If someone is new to Des Rocs, what song or two songs or three songs
Ooh,
should they listen to fully get your essence, to welcome them into being a filthy animal?
I would say Used to the Darkness, Wayne, and nothing personal.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think those are just like three intensely weird and emotional records that sum up a lot of what I want to say.
And as we wrap this up, what are you doing right now? Are you, I mean, this is Our Life EP out now. Are you kind of just gauging and enjoying the interaction and reaction to that EP, or are you planning on what's next already?
Oh yeah, I'm planning what's next and then what's next after that, and next after that. Like I'm very rarely in the
Yeah.
moment to the extent there ever is a moment. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm planning a lot of things, and I'm really excited to start sharing them soon.
Man, well, we're excited. We're waiting on the edge of our seats for him. So thank you so much for your time today, Des Rocs. This is Our Life EP out now. We appreciate you being a part of the Rock on the Studio Live, man.
Thank you. Rock on. Appreciate it.